all awake or have coffee after Halloween night. I know it's always rough the next day, especially if you have little ones and you are running around trick or treating, or maybe you just are an adult that likes to dress up and go party, which is awesome as well. But I can't believe that today is November 1st. So I am just grateful so many of you made it to this 8:30 meeting this morning. I am going to start just showing our agenda so you know what's to come. We have Tanner here. We're going to do a little bit of fun. And then we have Tanner Stevenson here to talk to us about some new things with self-directed, some SC training. This isn't really new training topics. It's just an update on what training is happening. Privatization, new SC expectations, and then a little connection update. So I'm going to get us started. Don't panic. We brought back the WebEx or website scavenger hunt. I know you're all so excited. So reminder of the, I guess, rules. I'm going to pop up on the screen a website that you should access or should know about as a support coordinator. And if you don't, it's okay, because then afterwards I'm going to pop up a link. But the first person that can find the website and put that into the chat, so the link into the chat, I will put your name on a sticky note or a little piece of paper and it'll go into a hat. So one person will win a prize after today, which is a surprise. So I will email you and get you your prize if you are the winner. Okay, we ready? Get your websites up so that you can copy and paste the link into the chat. Okay, the first one is email blasts. There is a web page that has all of the division email blasts that have been sent out. Give you guys a minute to find it. Ooh, Stacy Kreider, I think, has it. I'm seeing a few roll in now. Good job. Awesome. Okay, I see Stacy Kreider as my winner. I'm going to write your name down while others still try to find it. Okay, when you go back, you can access this link. If you're unable to find it right now, you can go back when these PowerPoints are posted and you can find this. But I am going to walk us through where to find it on the DMH website. So this is just dmh.mo.gov, and then I went to developmental disabilities. The easiest way I know of to go to this, because I go to information for case management providers all the time, I think at least once a day, probably more. And then over here on the right hand in this gray box, you can see a spot that will take you to email blasts. So first thing, if you aren't receiving the DD Mail email blasts, you should get something almost daily from DD Mail. It seems like we have a lot of blasts here recently of updates, but this is where you can go to sign up to receive those updates. So if you are a newer support coordinator, please go and do that. They're pretty important. And then here you can go back all the way to 2017. So if you remember, I think there was an email blast about that. This is an easy way, instead of searching through email through your Outlook account, a way to go back and look for those. Okay, Stacy, I have your name down. Okay, next web page. Can you find the link to the COVID-19 Flexibility Authority chart? I'm seeing some start. Good job. Andrea is my first one I see. Andrea Bernikoff. I'm sorry if I butcher someone's last name. I don't mean to. Writing Andrea's name down. Bunch of people are getting there. Awesome. Okay, I'm gonna pull this up. All right, again, I'm gonna walk you through on our website where you can find it. So I'm going back to our developmental disabilities page for the dmh.mo.gov. The COVID-19 will come across the banner. If it's not there for some reason, you just click these arrows and go back to the COVID-19 updates as available. And it is under that first tab of DD operational provider specific guidance. This is all the guidance we put out over the 2 years of, well, now almost 3 years of changes due to the pandemic. So in this is where you can find the COVID-19 flexibility authority chart. I had it already pulled up. So the reason I'm showing this to you is because I feel like the last time it was going to end, the federal public health emergency was going to end in mid-October, and I think it was a surprise to many of us because we kind of forgot. And what's tied to this that's very important is when that federal public health emergency ends, our flexibility for verbal signatures ends. So we need to keep track of this date. So I suggest putting this maybe on your calendar as a reminder so you're prepared as a support coordinator that currently, unless it's extended, as of January 11th, 2023, that flexibility will end and we will have to start getting real signatures again. So it could get extended, but just important dates. Also, it lets you know on this chart, it's kind of hard to look at, but on page 5 is the one that I have that has the most for us. Get there. So this is our flexibility for signatures, authorization of ISP changes via verbal approval, telephone, video, text, email, and it tells you what it ends with. So it ends with the 11/35 flexibility. At the very top of this page tells you when that flexibility ends. So that one's tied to public health emergency. This one, that's assessments. So if you're still doing MOCOBIs, Vinelands, it ends, those flexibilities end with Appendix K. Now, hopefully our MOS assessment will start before then, but just a couple important things on this chart for you. Okay. Last one. Can you find the self-directed supports page? Tanner, you don't get to win this one. Oh, I see Tyler. Tyler beat you, Tanner. He brought his A game today. You have it bookmarked. Smart person. All right, I'm gonna pull it up. Self-directed supports page. Again, walk you through where I find it. Back to that main developmental disabilities page. Down here at the bottom, there's this popular sections, and I click on the community supports. And over here to the right is a link to the self-directed supports page. And it has a whole tab that's information for support coordinators. Okay, I'm gonna let Tanner talk about self-directed, so I'm not gonna go too far into when or how you should use this page. Back to my PowerPoint. I'm gonna draw our name real quick. Let me put these in the hat. Okay, Oh, Tyler. Tyler's the winner for today. So congratulations, Tyler. I will email you after this and figure out where I need to send your prize to and some details with the prize. So yeah, woohoo, congratulations. Okay, I'm gonna hand it over to Tanner and let him talk about some updates with self-directed supports. Tanner, do you want to share your screen? I can get out of this.
Dylan, just to confirm, what would I be sharing? Is that the updates?
I didn't know if you wanted to share the letter. It's up to you.
So really, I'd really like to start and kind of be a little interactive and kind of work our way into the updates. I'd like to learn some of what I often hear from the support coordination side of things is that self-directed supports is difficult. People don't like self-directed supports. Um, you know, few individuals on each or support coordinators caseload self-direct their supports. So kind of, I was hoping to get a show of thumbs or hands. How many people agree with that statement that self-directed supports are difficult? Um, you don't like them. Everybody loves self-directed supports, huh? There's the thumbs down. All right. May I ask for some of those thumbs down, are you willing to come off mute and share why or kind of what pieces are overwhelming and difficult? Okay. I'll monitor the chat as well.
Hi, Tanner. I'm Phyllis Lyon from Kansas City Regional Office. I'll say something about them.
Hey, Phyllis, you said what? I'm sorry?
I said I'll mention something about self-directed.
Sure.
The number one complaint I get from my people, I have quite a few people that are on it right now, is navigating the system with Acumen and getting updates done for staff. I've had numerous people that have paid out of pocket for their staff while they're waiting to get everything switched around. Communication is very, very limited with Acumen.
Okay.
Seems like they take forever to get back to people, and a lot of them are considering switching back to service providers for this reason.
And Phyllis, those who are considering moving back to agency providers, are they long-standing self-directed supports? Or are they newer that have kind of onboarded and it hasn't really become routine and they still don't like it and are reverting back to agency?
A couple of them are longtime people that I've had since I started. I know one is just, she just so frustrated. She's always having to do something different. She submits things, it's not enough. There's not a local person for her to contact to get things taken care of.
Okay.
So it's a little bit of everything.
Phyllis, how often do you interact with Kansas City Regional Office's self-directed support specialist?
Usually it depends on what the circumstances are. A lot of
Okay.
times these people, they'll um, CC her on their emails, so she's aware, or I will contact her. Lori is the one that, when she knows what's going on. A lot of times they just CC me and Acumen because they want to try to get this taken care of. And
Sure.
I
So
can understand the frustration.
I hear the same frustrations from individuals, and which is very much not a programmatic thing, but a contracted fiscal management service thing, right? And so, we contract with Acumen. They are only as good as what their system allows them to be, and we are limited with the requests that we can ask them to make. Well, we're not limited for the asks, but what they'll actually accommodate and appease is a different story. For what it's worth, we as the self-directed support program hear these issues as well, and we actually have gone so far as to evaluate what options we have. What can we do to get Acumen to perform better for the program, but ultimately for the individuals that we serve. And we went so far as, we had their CEO come down last month. We met, we discussed and created a Midwest incident report and discussed many of those issues. And it is being reviewed top to bottom, all things Missouri Self-Directed Supports Acumen related. So we do hope to see improvements in the near future. Systematically, it won't be huge, right? The system exists, and we won't be able to make a whole lot of modifications to this system. I urge individuals to just, it's very difficult getting started, but once you do, repetition and routine kind of sets in, and it becomes a little bit easier, and individuals really start to benefit from the program. While the system is required, the system is not the program. The system is just a piece of the program. I did want to, so thank you, Phyllis, I appreciate it. I did want to reiterate that the self-directed support specialist exists in every region. We will be blending regions, and I'll get to that momentarily, but there is always a self-directed support specialist available. Please utilize them. Anytime you have questions, concerns, anytime you receive questions and concerns from the individual, we can somewhat streamline things, try to, if we need to move things up the chain faster than not, we can usually do so. And you mentioned something else, that there's not a local agent on the Acumen side. That's not necessarily correct. So Acumen does work on an agent model, and they have agents assigned to each specific region, and every single one of them is local. Now, their customer support staff is not. They do reside in Mesa, Arizona, and that doesn't always help when the questions come. But the local staff do exist and are typically pretty good about answering questions. And if they're not, I typically hear about it, and at that point, we'll get a question sooner than later. Or I'm sorry, we'll get an answer sooner than later. But I would like to again reiterate to utilize the self-directed support specialists, especially moving forward, and I will kind of explain why. But before I do, I wanted to talk a little bit more about what is available for you and for individual self-directing supports on our website, and kind of discuss what is coming in the future. I'm not ashamed to say it. I hate self-directed support's website. I don't like any of the forms on our website. They're outdated. It took me about 9 months, so I'm a year and 2 months in to my position. It took me 9 months to realize that when I read the various forms on our website, they're in pamphlet form, so I'm reading page 2, and then page 50, and then page 3, and page 49. So I could never figure out why things weren't jiving as I read them. I don't like it. If I couldn't figure it out, relatively easily just by reading it, how are individuals supposed to hop on the website and benefit from that as well? So self-directed supports is going through, and we are modifying just about everything on our website. What we'd really like to do, it's kind of, the first sentence on our website, here you will find your one stop for linking you to information. And then there's 80 tabs, 4 tabs, 5, 6 tabs, 10 documents under each tab. They're really not self-explanatory, and they're outdated. So I do really want this to become a one-stop shop. And we are currently creating a brand new self-directed supports handbook. It will be modern, it will be up to date, and it will be singular, right? I'm not going to have a document for guide to documentation. I'm not going to have a document for guide to understanding reviews. It will all exist in one document. It will be indexed so that you can click and it will take you directly where you need and want to go, but it's not going to be confusing. Mentions of various program requirements or names, whether that, just going from PPL to Acumen for those that knew who PPL was. It's mentioned in 80 different documents. Are you going to remember every single document that's needed to be updated? No, we're not, and they're outdated today. PPL is still mentioned in many of our documents. So we are modernizing. We are kind of going more lean so that all the information is available in one place. We also want to be very purposeful and diligent on where the information will be housed. Um, what is for support coordinators, what is for individuals, and the like. So many improvements to the website are coming, but what that means is many improvements to the resources available to you and the individuals um, that do self-direct their supports and their stakeholders, support brokers, right? If anybody ever contacts you and it's a support broker and they want more information, we want to be purposeful and modern and up to date with in regards to the information that we share. So we also have the training on the intranet, and I want to become more purposeful on what we have out there as well. And depending on what Heike is comfortable with, we have the self-directed supports training tab. I would like subtabs, support coordination, right? I guess that would be, and then self-directed support staff, my team, so that they can all get in there and have their trainings. They're separated, but very easily to navigate. So we plan on adding to that intranet self-directed supports training in the future. We have a self-directed support in-person meeting Thursday and Friday of this week, and we will be rolling out several new forms that once rolled out to them will be incorporated on the intranet training. That being an updated pre-UR checklist, and we provide that on the website, and we'll provide it on the intranet for support coordinators to use to know exactly what the self-directed supports team will be looking at in the ISPs and the addendums and plans as they come. So just so that support coordination is fully aware of what we're looking for. Sorry, I'm awful at chat if things are coming in.
I just wanted to add that I was reading the chat, and in Butler and Dunklin County, even through the Sikeston Regional Office, we're very lucky. Misty Dunning and Amanda Moore are extremely helpful. They help us navigate the website and what we need in the plan, all of that stuff. So we don't have some of the issues that are being stated in the chat. So I just want to say maybe we're lucky.
Great point, and I think, Amanda, that you have been lucky. I think, and this is kind of where I was leading into, I think part of that luck has lied within the caseloads of each self-directed support specialist to date. And what I'd like to do is share some of our Tableau reports, pull them up. And these are some of the changes that we will be making, hopefully in the very near future, and that self-directed supports will ask support coordination's partnership in so that the changes can be successful. So and for what it's worth, anyone that is interested in having access to the self-directed supports Tableau reports, I'm not sure if you'll gain as much as I do and my team will gain, but if you're curious and you enjoy numbers and data, happy to share and get access to anybody that wants it. Oh, let's see. Amanda, kind of going back to your point, it's relatively luck in the numbers. Amanda, prior to beginning of September, her caseload was sitting around 125 individuals self-directing their supports. Misty, 180. What we realized, though, St. Louis, 645 individuals on their caseload self-directing their support. Springfield, 386. Rolla, 238. Kansas City, 528. There's 2 individuals in St. Louis, so just on average, you're sitting at 320, 2.5 on their caseload. 170 some each here. Joe's by himself, 238, 500. You got 230 some odd individuals on each self-directed supports caseload. And what we were realizing is that the self-directed support specialists in St. Louis, Springfield, Rolla, Kansas City, Joplin, compared to some of their counterparts in Albany, who only had 78, Hannibal 83, Kirksville 76, up above 125. these individuals here, they were putting out fires and pushing paper. That's really all they were doing. The self-directed supports team really exists to provide the technical assistance to the program policies and procedures, to troubleshoot. And these individuals, half of my team, because there's two here, two here, two here, they couldn't. They couldn't do it. They were only putting out fires and pushing paper. So, how do we get these individuals with the less populated regions equal to that of these individuals, but these individuals reduced so that they can provide the best supports to the individuals that self-direct their supports? We did something, I think, similar to what support coordination is doing, and we really started looking at the caseloads themselves and what is equity among the self-directed supports team. So what we did is we decided, okay, we want every self-directed support specialist to have the exact same number of individuals on their caseload as each other self-directed support specialist. And we did that. For example, St. Louis, we moved groups of individuals self-directing their supports under TCMs to other self-directed support specialists throughout the state. We did that for St. Louis, Springfield, Kansas City, and Joplin. So we moved individuals from those regions, if you will, to other self-directed support specialists. So Amanda, you mentioned Misty and Amanda Moore. They have individuals from St. Louis on their caseload now. They have individuals from Springfield on their caseload and Kirksville. That's kind of how our distribution played out. And we can see now every self-directed support specialist is hovering right around an equal number, so that each self-directed support specialist will be operating in the exact same way. Now, something we will have to sit down and really consider is what is maximum? At what point do we really need to start looking at process improvements, which we're doing already, but really in process improvements because caseloads are so high that nobody can function other than putting out fires and pushing paper. But Amanda Moore is at 202. Danny, and so again, we're kind of away from the region, but now we're looking at each self-directed support specialist individually. 215, 223, 219, 241, 218, 207, 238. With the movements we made, we can see as much equity as we could with everything that existed to date. But what we really want to do is maintain that equity, and that is where our processes will change slightly. We want to enroll individuals in self-directed supports in kind of a round robin type of manner or in a big circle, so that, if someone enrolls today, let's assume everybody's at 200. Each one of these is 200. If someone enrolls, I give it to Amanda. Amanda becomes 201. Someone else enrolls today. I give it to Ashley. She's at 201. Next person, Danny, she's at 201. Until everybody's at 201, then we circle back and restart. So what that means is, because it's based off the next enrollment in self-directed supports program statewide, support coordination, we'll be working with every single self-directed support specialist eventually. While that seems, that first thought in your mind maybe, well, shit, that's one more thing we've got to start realizing and identifying. Who's the self-directed support specialist? We have tried to think of every possibility and every thought that you might have and address them prior to talking with you today. So prior to our initiative, our equitable caseload distribution initiative, nobody really knew who their self-directed support specialist was, other than being able to get online and say who's their regional contact. Because we do have a Sikeston self-directed support specialist, is Misty. That won't be the case always. Misty will have people from St. Louis, Springfield, every other region on her caseload. So we have had each self-directed support specialist identify themselves in Seymour under consumer resources, under person resources. So anybody can get in to see more. I'm not sure if I have an example. Would anybody like to see an example of how that is? I think I have a redacted example if anybody wants to see it.
I think we'd be pretty comfortable with that, Tanner.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
So, how do we comfortable seeing or comfortable just knowing where it is, hearing where
I
it
think
is?
we'd be comfortable finding it. If anybody
Okay.
disagrees with me, speak up.
I think I see one yes, please in the chat. So maybe show it
Yep, not a problem.
in case.
So from your side of things, can I show anybody or does it need to be redacted, Jill?
I would prefer redacted because these are recorded and I don't, then anyone on the intranet would be able to see it.
Let me try. So,
And if we can't, then we can just send out an example after.
sure. Let me see. Can everybody see PowerPoint?
Yes. Yes.
All right. So each self-directed supports program, has added a role in Seymour under consumer resources, person resources to identify who an individual self-directed support specialist is. All it is, consumer resources, person resources, and there it is. Valerie Kimmery, DD, self-directed support specialist. Sorry. So that is there for anybody to utilize. As you know, Jill, you have new staff coming on as your individuals train new individuals, whatever that might be. And then a specific individual's assigned self-directed support specialist will be identified in Seymour. Knowing that we want to go with a round robin or cyclical distribution, this is how support coordinators will identify who an individual's assigned self-directed support specialist is. It has their telephone numbers, it has their email addresses, so all contact information is at, your disposal to use. Now, another thought that may be coming to your mind is, well, how different does Kansas City do things from St. Louis? Fantastic question, fantastic thought. I hate that you have to go through it. Those differences exist. They do. But that is a plus and a goal of our equitable caseload distribution, our statewide distribution. I, as the self-directed support program lead, want to know what differences exist on St. Louis versus Kansas City. I want to learn about them so that we can evaluate, decide what best practice is, and roll that best practice out statewide. I don't want the differences to exist. And I understand things may be different in different regions, processes may be different, but the application of self-directed support should not be. It should be the exact same. What's allowed in St. Louis should be allowed in Sikeston. What's not allowed in Kirksville should not be allowed in Springfield. Just kind of across the board, statewide consistency is one thing that we're looking to gain from an equitable and statewide caseload distribution. And sorry, Jill, again, I don't have chat in front of me. If you do see anything, just let me know.
That's okay. I think I saw a question pop up that I think is a good next step. So she said, this is great, but who do we contact initially to start up self-directed services?
Fantastic question. So this is a communication I've drafted and I've kind of, Jill has partnered and reviewed it. And she said there's a lot of words. That's just a personal default of mine. I get wordy, so I apologize. But because of the changes in our process, and again, we will only be successful with your support and with your support coordination partnership. So who do you contact initially? Let me pull up another document.
And Tanner, I will copy all of the chats and send them to you after, because there's been a lot of comments about other difficulties they've had with self-directed, but I think there's at least.
I don't know how much time I have, Jill. It's totally up to you. I'm happy to discuss them today if you'd like, if they're more pressing than not, or if it's something you think that I can answer quickly.
I will probably, I think, because I only have till 9:15 for you, so that's only 8
Uh-oh.
more. So I'll probably copy them and send them to you, and maybe you can come back to our December call.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So in regards to where you send things initially, and this may not be big, this is kind of the asks, and it addresses where things go initially. What I did is, because we are asking support coordinators to kind of appease self-directed supports processes, I wanted you to know why. And so when this comes out to you, it includes the why. The first page is the why we're asking you to help us be successful. And what it does is it kind of reiterates what we've discussed so far. The more populated areas, regions, the self-directed support specialists whose caseloads were regionally assigned were so much larger. And there were regional offices who had less than 80 individuals self-directing their supports. And it wasn't equitable. There was significant differences in operation from one self-directed support specialist to the next. So we wanted to implement our equitable caseload distribution. And so we are asking, it's tentatively, but as of December 1, we are asking for new plans, so that initial contact. Well, if I may, real quick, a show of hands, who submits plans, addendums, amendments, whatever that might be, to the self-directed support specialist prior to sending to UR?
For us, it's the team supervisor in St. Louis.
What's that?
In St. Louis, it's the team supervisor.
Okay. For my staff, they have shared with me that 95% of the time, the plans are first submitted to the self-directed support specialist so that they can review the self-directed supports portion of the plan. They kind of sign off on a SDS pre-UR checklist, submit it back to the support coordinator, and it then goes to UR for final.
Correct. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. And it
So,
comes from the support coordinators typically.
new enrollments into self-directed supports, individuals that are not existing, but new enrollments into self-directed supports, who do you send them to? You would have sent them to your regionally assigned self-directed support specialist in the past.
Correct. Yeah.
But since we are assigning new to all self-directed support specialists to keep that equity, where do you send it? We have created a generic email inbox that we would like every single new plan to go to. You don't have to identify who the self-directed support specialist is. You don't have to do anything other than send the plan to this email inbox. And you don't have to, this is coming out. You don't have to remember the name, but it's kind of that simple. You send it to this email, all new plans to the general or generic email inbox. We in the self-directed supports program will assign to self-directed support specialists. They will review the plan and then they will respond to you. And then you can work, that individual moving forward, it will be the self-directed support specialist moving forward will be the individual's assigned self-directed support specialist. It does not change after that. Does that answer the question in regards to where you send, who do you initially contact?
Yes, it does. Thank you so
Okay.
very much.
Very good. So initially, my thought was that we have every single plan, addendum, amendment, whatever, annual with changes, anything be submitted to this so self-directed supports can review. To minimize traffic to this email inbox, though, and so that this is very specific to new assignments, for individuals that are in self-directed supports, existing, and let's say you submitted a new plan to this email inbox, they've lasted a year and they want to make modifications. Where do you send the annual plan with changes or amendments, addendums to? We would like those to go to the assigned self-directed support specialist. Very similar to what you do today, right? You send those to your regionally assigned self-directed support specialist. We would like the same process to occur. It's just not regional assignment. It could be any one of the 12. You use CMOR to identify who that is. Let me pull up Chad somehow.
There's one question of how often is the email monitored for the new SDS plans?
Every single day. As soon as, as soon as I see something in the inbox, I have subfolders for each one of my team members. So no one should ever work out of the inbox. They should work out of their assigned folder. So if anything is ever existing in the inbox of that email address, I'll know that it needs to be assigned, and I can do that very quickly using that Tableau report that I showed you that updates daily at 1 p.m. And then we can kind of keep track for that single day, knowing that when we come back next day, it should be updated. So the email inbox will be monitored real time. Does anybody have any questions? So new goes to the email inbox. Existing changes go to the individual's assigned self-directed support specialist, identified in CMOR under consumer resources, person resources.
I'm glad you came to the meeting today, Tanner.
Can you tell me why? What I really want to hear
Well-
your takeaways. Is this, do you like this? Does this scare you more?
Well, I appreciate having the opportunity to learn more about self-directed support, and I think you've been very informative.
And for what it's worth, Jill, I don't know if you've gotten that far. I have offered Jill any kind of partnership to benefit support coordination. I really do know that we will benefit the more knowledgeable support coordination is of self-directed supports, the more comfortable support coordination is with self-directed supports. It will only benefit me and my team. But I also don't want you to be scared or worrisome of individuals that self-direct their supports. We're available at all times. We want to assist. Don't be afraid to use us as resources. And then knowing that we're making the modifications moving forward to streamline and modernize. So thank you, Mary, for the feedback.
And I have a couple of requests in the chat for more training because they like this. So we're actually meeting this afternoon to start more of that discussion. So if you have specific requests, you can send them to me or Tanner of what maybe additional you think you need. There is a question of what date this is starting for new SDS plans.
So your feedback will be extremely valuable. I personally would love to implement this December 1. All new plans go to the new inbox December 1. All existing plans, identifying who the self-directed support specialist is in CMOR, sending them to them for review and so forth. So one thing to consider is that we are partnering with UR as well. And UR has agreed. We've spoken to the regional office directors, assistant directors, all of UR. If a plan ever lands in UR's lap that does not have a completed self-directed support pre-UR review tool or checklist, whatever you want to call it, UR will send that back as incomplete. And I have created a verbiage for them that says it's a new plan you need to send to the new, this email address we just shared, or it's an existing plan you need to identify who the self-directed support specialist is and send it to them. This is how you identify. But every plan and every change should be first reviewed by a self-directed support specialist. New plans go to the email. Existing plans go directly to the assigned self-directed support specialist. And we have created another email inbox for you to use and any of your individuals to use. And that is a general SDS@dmh.mo.gov. So one of the things we wanted to take into consideration is where do people go when they have questions, right? They typically could have gone to their regionally assigned self-directed support specialist. but we are kind of blending, and in all reality, we're eliminating regional lines, all things self-directed supports, internal program related. So who would people contact for questions? We really wanted to give them an area to send their questions, concerns, inquiries to. So that is why we have created just a general questions, inquiries inbox. We're still urging that if the individual has an assigned self-directed support specialist, you benefit from them, utilize them. But if they don't, if it's an individual considering self-directed supports, if it's a support coordinator that simply has a question that's more general and not individual specific, you can use this. And that is again monitored in real time, and answers should be much quicker than it may have been in the past had it just gone directly to a self-directed support specialist. So that is extremely high level. This will be coming out, Jill, as soon as Jill's comfortable with it. Is anybody concerned with the December 1 start date for just kind of, it's a reroutement of where your documents go. Instead of to the self-directed support specialist, if it's new plans, it goes here. If it's existing, nothing really changes. You just have to identify who the self-directed support specialist is. Is everybody comfortable with a December 1 implementation date, change date, if you will?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing's coming up in the chat, so I'm assuming most are comfortable.
Let's see, I'm sorry. Would we send the ISP to the assigned SDS coordinator or the regional manager if the regions are now mixed? Everything will still go to the individual's assigned self-directed support, and they're no longer self-directed support coordinators. We did change our name because we were so very often mistaken for support coordinators that we do kind of identify self-directed support specialists. But everything will go to the self-directed support specialists unless it's a new plan. And then it goes to the DMH pre-UR, I'm sorry, SDS pre-UR at dmh.mo.gov.
And a couple people are asking if there's an existing SDS budget that is no change or a reduction, does it still go to the self-directed support specialist?
No.
Yep, correct, Christina. It's only if there's an increase.
Okay.
Well, I will copy and paste everything in the chat for you and send it your way. And that way, if we need to do a separate side call, that's just self-directed, we can do that, or have you come on the next December call.
I appreciate it. And Jill, are you comfortable with we've talked about, are you comfortable with the language? If so, I can
Yep.
send this to you now and maybe you can disseminate today. It's fresh in everybody's mind. I'd like to circle back. I'm only as good as the people that hear it and understand it. So even though I send out today, I will likely send out again and perhaps one more time.
I really like the idea of sending out today while it's fresh in everyone's mind. You guys can review it, and then if you have questions, you'll
Yep.
have that whole month that we can address them and possibly update if we need to. The other cool thing I'm just gonna add, do you still have the cheat sheet at the end?
I do. So we
That-
did.
FYI.
Here's the why. I wanted you to know why we're asking you to help us and why we're asking you to change your processes. Here's an in-depth of what the process changes are, just so that you understand what those changes are. And then we've created, I wanted you to not have to dig through this 3-page, 4-page paper every time you kind of want to learn, well, I forgot what the email address was. So I did create a cheat sheet. New plans, email this. And Jill has given me some feedback. I'll get rid of some of the words, but email this annual plans, emails the assigned self-directed support specialist. Here's how you identify who a self-directed support specialist is. Just for you to tack on your wall, put in a folder, wherever you benefit from it. But it's right there for you. It's kind of more specific and much shorter than my many words above.
You're getting lots of love about the cheat sheet. So,
Are we? All right, good.
all right. Well, thank you so much for coming.
And
I
thank you.
will, yep, send me the final and I'll get that out to all the support coordinators.
Thanks. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Tanner.
Take care.
My screen back up. Maybe. Okay, now it's back. Okay, I sent this email yesterday. I forwarded it to everyone. I just wanted to have this here as a reminder. So we know, fingers crossed, that the MOS update is coming by January 1st. So this will affect most likely every single support coordinator because it's everyone going into a waiver has to have an assessment or currently in a waiver. So just a reminder, please go to that email. If you don't have it, then you can go to that email blast site that I showed you and you can find it there because it went out via DD email blast. And just register for one of these times to go through. They're going to talk through how to schedule using Calendly so that we have everyone that needs an assessment scheduled and getting their assessment done on time. So please do that. I wanted to talk briefly because I know we're cutting it close on time about some of our support coordination training enhancements because some of this is for new support coordinators, but some you can come to it even if you've been here for a while. So the first enhancement that may not affect you unless you've started in the last 2 weeks, then you've seen this, but we started a welcome email that comes from me. It's sent by Tessa Isaacson, but it comes from me and it is a welcome email with the Welcome to State Support Coordination Training Checklist attached. If you were on the org efficiency call yesterday, let me find my intranet training page. This will be repeat, but I just wanted to make sure in case you missed it. If you go to our intranet training page, and you scroll down to support coordination, you can access that Welcome to State Support Coordination Training Checklist right there under that support coordination tab. So if you're interested and just want to look at it, or there's links there you can use anytime that you have questions. There's links to some of the basic information that a support coordinator would need to know within their first 2 months. What else? I know I've mentioned before, but we've started the follow-up series that's with myself and Sheila Wenning. They were previously all via WebEx, but in November, we're starting in-person options. So I'm still figuring out with Kat, I haven't even talked to her about this, but how we can add that to our intranet page. But just so you guys know, November 10th, there is a training and we're doing that at the page office. As long as I can get a conference room, I'll let you know if that changes. And November 17th at CMRO. So it's kind of a hybrid. We'll be doing it and offering it in person. So if you want to travel there as a new support coordinator, meet with Sheila and I in person. We'll also have a WebEx up with one of us talking via WebEx so that we include everyone. But that way you have an opportunity if you want to come see another office and you're able to travel and you want to come talk to Sheila and I in person. Come to those. I'm going to show you again where to go to register. So again, you're on the intranet training page. There's a tab at the very top for support coordination meetings. This takes you first, our monthly support coordination meetings. In case you didn't know, that's where all of these recordings are housed with any PowerPoints, transcript recordings. So you can go back and listen to today's meeting if you want. I think it's Kat may know, but I don't know how many days it takes to get the recording up, but I don't think it's very long. But if you keep going down, we have the Support Coordination Foundation series follow-up where we go over those 6 modules of the foundation series and just rehash everything that you did online. That way you have opportunity to ask questions in person. And we can look at some of the homework because that's the class where you go through and you do a trajectory and you do a STAR based off of some stories that are in there, some real life experiences. And the other one is after you go through all the SC manual trainings, previously were in MELS, now are in our Thinkific platform for the most part. This one will review all those basic support coordination themes like employment first, technology first, abuse, neglect, everything that's listed for the first 3 months of training. So this is where you can go as a reminder that November 17th one right here is CMRO. And then the November 10th, which is the foundation series one, will be at the Page office. The other cool thing about this new training enhancement is we get notified by either the supervisor or human resources anytime a new support coordinator starts. They have that checklist, they go through it, and then we've created just one certificate. So those that had to go through and keep track of your 15 certificates of every module you went through, we have updated that so that when we have a TCM tech review come in, they can look at that one certificate and know that you had all the initial training. So just wanted you guys to know about that. I know if you're already here, it probably doesn't affect you very much, but you're more than invited to come to this follow-up series with Sheila and I. I wanted to highlight our caseload privatization progress and answer any questions you might have. This is what I know. Some of these numbers might be off in this progress column, but it's the last that I have heard. So Springfield is completed. They privatized both Douglas and Wright counties, which were covered by the Springfield Regional Office. So we no longer, as of October 17th, have support coordination for the state out of Springfield. So that was good news. Both the support coordinators actually retired. And then Joe Lammert, who was the supervisor, was also a TCM tech. So he gets to just be a TCM tech now. So I think he was pretty happy about having one role. Other updates, those CMROs in process. They have some scheduled transfers happening. Hopefully getting most of it done by that December 31st deadline. Kansas City is on track. I think I heard that all the individuals are identified and transfers are being planned for December. So that's exciting. Sikeston, we had a meeting, they're in progress and plan to get all of that done before that 12/31 deadline. And St. Louis, we just held a meeting with CHS, who's taking on those 1,800 people in St. Louis County. So they're going to be a little bit behind because they are having to hire, they're new to that county. So they're setting up offices, they're hiring support coordinators. They have hired, I think they said 6 are in the process. So not fully hired yet, but that they're hoping to have on soon. So we are in the,
Yes, 6 of the 53.
okay, there you go. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we are in the beginning stages of identifying those individuals. So if you're in St. Louis, you'll be hearing from us very soon of we're transferring this many people from your team. So we're looking at all of those numbers, getting percentages and we have some goals to get those numbers out to the teams pretty soon. And then Poplar Bluff and Hannibal were not affected. We're not privatizing from their offices. So it takes a ton of teamwork. I know once you get those numbers, it will take teamwork on your teams. So be patient, but I know you're going to have deadlines. It's going to feel stressful, but it's exciting. So we'll all work together. We will make it work. I don't want you to feel like you're drowning. So I know Hannibal already, kudos to Hannibal, is supporting part of St. Louis County and trying to get some ISPs completed for them. So we're all kind of trying to work together and tackle this to make it successful and not a huge burden on you guys. Kind of leads me into the next slide of SC expectations. So I think I told you this on the last call, but we have put a work group together to draft SC role expectations so that we have job descriptions and an outline of accountability expectations for support coordinators, SC3s, supervisors. I don't want this to sound scary because current situation, we're thinking about this. We have all 3 roles in this work group to advocate. If you're interested in joining, there's still room. You can email me. We actually have a meeting this afternoon. So far, all we've done is gather materials, and today we're going to try to put kind of a template together of how we want these to look. It's really to give you, I've heard so many when I go around is I don't know what's expected of me, or I don't know what the SC3 role is going to be in this new support coordination where you have a lesser caseload. So we're trying to give an outline of what your jobs will look like and what data information will be looked at to say, are you meeting your job expectations or not? However, caveat of the current situation of these will be if you have a manageable caseload. So we also know, just as a central office statewide, your regional office leadership, we recognize that if your caseloads are too high and they're unmanageable, you're going to miss deadlines. You're going to possibly have some findings on audits. You're not going to be individually punished for not being able to meet deadlines that just are impossible. So I want you to know that from my perspective, from Wendy Witzig, from Sheila Wenning, and from your regional office directors and assistant directors, we don't want you so stressed. We know some areas have caseloads that are huge, unmanageable. We're trying to get things up to date as best we can and trying to provide help. But we're going to, I know, especially a couple areas we've been digging in and asking questions like who's an autism project, who's doing this from your caseload, and it's just strictly to get information to help us with privatization and to help us figure out caseload distribution. So let me see, I just saw a chat come up and I realized I didn't have my chat open. So I don't know if, I know Wendy and Sheila were both on the call. I don't know if either of you have anything to add to this while I make sure there's nothing in chat. And so,
You did a nice job, Jill. I don't have anything to add.
okay, thank you.
And I agree completely.
And I see a question, Phyllis, that says, is that including Mokabi's not being redone from the 3-year limit? Is that based on discussing the expectations? You can come off mute.
Yes, because what we're running into a lot right now in our team and other teams, I believe, the 3-year limit is coming up. So we have people that, I've got 2 this week, possibly 3 Mokabis to do for people that have to do a 12-1 plan. We're on the 3-year limit thing, where it was okay to continue for 3 years. So now we're getting quite a few Mokabis that need to be done. So I just didn't know how that's going to be looked at because they won't approve the LOC if the Mokabi's not done.
Right. I would say that would be one of the priority areas that we might have to hate to say this, and Sheila and Wendy might disagree and you guys can chime in, but we might have to let other things slide to try to get that assessment done because that does affect the waiver and it does affect then the provider and the services that person receives. So not only the provider, but the individual. What other regions have also done is sometimes if they're unable to get to those, the intakes and assessment staff have been kind of stepping in and helping too. So it might be something, Phyllis, if your team is getting to a place that maybe you feel like you can't get them done, we might have to reach out and try to ask for support.
Okay, thank you, Jill.
Yeah. Okay. I don't see any more questions. I just wanted you guys aware, and I had one private message of someone that wants to join. Absolutely, I'll send you the information. If anyone else, feel free to email me, and we can get you added to the meeting today or the future ones to look at our expectations. Okay, last thing I have on my formal agenda. I wanted to let you all know that there is a Connection ISP demo coming soon. I have a date on here, but it's very tentative, but I wanted you to be able to mark it on your calendars because I know you're probably already scheduled for this day because it's November already. But in case you're able to set this time aside, it's scheduled currently for November 30th from 1:30 to 4:30. I will send you the invitation, the formal invitation, once it's actually sent to me. So I would set this, tongue-tied, I would set this time aside on your calendars if possible. If it doesn't happen that day, you can always work on ISPs or paperwork. But I just think coming to that demo, seeing what, I know there's a lot of questions about connection. It's going to show the ISP. However, what to expect is this is just a demo of what the system will look like and some of the functionality of the system. So it's going to be a broad overview. It's not going to get into every specific, this is what happens in this type of ISP, this is what happens for this question. It's simply going to show you the look and kind of how you'll be able to tab through things, what you'll see in connection. So there is very detailed training that they're already working on. That's coming in spring of 2023 that will go through a lot of those details for you. So, and you will be required to go through that training before you get access to connection. So I just wanted to separate because I know we had a demo. We had a demo last week or 2 weeks ago of some billing for connection, and there were just a lot of misunderstandings because people expected it to be a training of how the billing and logging would look. It's just going to show you kind of what the buttons, what the ISP will look like. And then later you'll have in-depth training. Any questions about connection? Oh, I see a question that just came up about expectations. So are logging expectations of 80% or 106 hours changing when caseload numbers changing? As of right now, no. I know that sounds silly, I guess, maybe. But you'll have more time to spend with people that have the needs that right now we're just putting out fires. So really, I think you'll be surprised how much you will still be communicating with people, doing things on their behalf, still typing ISPs. So if it becomes a problem, we can look at it again, but I don't foresee that that is going to change. Yes, and I see a comment. I just want connection to hurry up and get here. I know. I think it will help us. I'm looking forward to some of the training. I think the training will help with a lot of, I know you guys have a lot of questions because how could you not, of what's this going to do for my job? What's it going to look like? How's it going to work? So that training will really be helpful for you. Okay, that's all I had of formal things, but are there any other questions or topics that we didn't address today that you want to go ahead and ask while you have me, Sheila, Wendy? I don't see or hear anything coming up. So I will give you the 20 minutes back. I will stay on here until around 10. If anybody wants to stay on and ask me specific questions, I'll be here. Otherwise, you guys have a great week and we will talk next month.